Nice picture. Pink shirt, pink ties. I didn't know.
Gentlemen, it's 4:10. I'd like to begin today's meeting. I would like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If Mr. A.J. Meyer would lead us in the prayer, please. Ms. Secretary, could you do a roll call, please?
Mr. Cancio.
Here.
Mr. Foray. Mr. Gonzalez. Here. Ms. Gutierrez. Here. Mr. Holland. Mr. Meyer.
Present.
Mr. Walters. Ms. Weinberg. Secretary Pago. Treasurer Rodriguez Pina.
Here.
Vice Chair Fano. Chair Martinez.
Here.
We have a quorum, sir.
And now, I have no changes to the agenda. If anyone has any suggestions, I'd hear from the board. Hearing none, I would approve the agenda as is at this time. Do I need a motion for that, Council? Nope, great. Council, it's yours, D.
Do any members of this distinguished board have any conflicts to report on any items on the agenda?
I have a question to ask on a possible conflict. One of the parcels associated with what I think is one of our eminent domain processes is owned by the Children's Home Society of Florida. And I don't know if it's even a pro bono matter, but I know that our firm has represented that. Is that in itself a conflict? I'm throwing it out there
I don't
just
think so.
to make it a public thing, but I don't think so either.
Council, based on your experience, it's duly noted, and council does not indicate.
I will not be in.
Does not indicate that it's a conflict, so. Citizens' comments today, Ms. Secretary. Is anyone registered to make any citizens' comments?
Can we give it a few more minutes just in case? I'm hoping that somebody walks through the door.
Well, you know, I think I was about to ask you,
That's exactly
board
what I was
member
asking.
Council, that you took away my thunder. I was going to ask you where we at in days since you've joined, since we've had comments. Thank you very much, Board Member Council, for that information. I appreciate it very much. Council, the next item 2, please.
The approval of summary minutes? Excuse me, citizens' comments?
We've already done that. I'm sorry, 3. My bad. No, 2. Summary minutes.
The approval of summary minutes.
Does anyone wish to move? Moved by the treasurer, seconded by Mr. Gonzalez. Open for discussion. Any discussion? Hearing none. Discussion closed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Executive Director's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and board members. Want to update you on a variety of projects that we're working on. Just recently, we received a letter, and I'll be distributing it to the board just for information on one of our PD&E projects, 83618, the extension of the 836 Southwest. Environmental Coalition is objecting to the project, and that's perfectly fine. That's what the environmental report is for, to address, to mitigate, minimize, and try to avoid those types of impacts. So we're going to put it for the record, but because they copied everybody in Miami-Dade County, I will make it available to the board members for your information. I wanted to say that. As far as our strategic plan, we've engaged our traffic consultants and our economic analysis consultants to analyze those projects that were within the strategic plan at the midpoint. We are going to get that information. We're going to bring it back to this board within the next 30 to 45 days to have a conversation on the strategic plan moving forward. I've had the privilege of participating with Chairman Martinez in meeting with many of our county commissioners to introduce him as our chair and also to discuss our plans moving forward. Many of them are related to our strategic plan. We've gotten very good feedback on those plans. And of note, Commissioner Dennis Moss just held a meeting amongst the Florida Department of Transportation, the Florida's Turnpike, MDX, and Miami-Dade Transit, where he's looking at developing a project from West Kendall using State Road 874, the extension that we're going to build, the existing 874, 878, portions of Florida's Turnpike, and some direct access to the Dadeland Metro Rail station. He wants to run what he's calling Express BRT on the expressway, on the shoulders. So the point is that he's already captured the program of hubs and using the expressway as an interim, realistic, viable solution to get us to a rail program eventually in Miami-Dade County. So I wanted to update that, and I will continue to update the board as that develops, but it's in line with our master plans and what we've been doing since 2007, actually, at MDX. I'm going to let General Counsel give an update on the ETCC trial, which has been going on for the last 3 weeks. He'll speak to that. Of specific note, 83628, the widening and interchange improvements to 836 between Red Road and 17th Avenue. Yesterday, we had our construction groundbreaking. I want to thank the board members who were able to attend, and to those that weren't able to attend, I thank you for all of your support and the direction in moving that forward. I think of significant note yesterday, and it was really important that we stressed it, is 2 things. Number 1, the project includes hard shoulders on the inside that will be dedicated to express buses. That's always been part of the plan. That was very well received. And number 2, of the $149 million that we awarded the contractor, the design-build team, over $50 million of that is going to small and local businesses right here in Miami-Dade County. The project itself is creating or helping create 1,600 jobs and supporting over 10,000 jobs in Miami-Dade County for our work program. That was really, really good yesterday.
Mr. Rodriguez, may I interject here on that? I had the opportunity yesterday to address the dignitaries yesterday, and I'd like to thank all the county commissioners and the mayor who were there. But there were some things I think that I need to express. I had the opportunity as yesterday's chair, as kind of a closer, since we're in baseball, to discuss this. But I didn't start this project. The person that started this was somebody who's sitting at this board today. When Chairman Gutierrez came up with the idea of a blue ribbon committee to come up with the projects that we are doing now, it was innovative. It was one of the reasons why we are growing and we are becoming such a strong force around here. And simply because I was the person who spoke yesterday doesn't minimize, and I wanted to recognize the efforts of Chair Gutierrez and the other board members that have been here in the past that were directly involved in why we accomplished where we're going. What we're doing now is we're becoming partners, but again, it starts with those who took on difficult tasks, put together a work program that is far-reaching in thinking. And those are the people that also need to always be remembered. You can't look forward without looking backwards for those who were there, who got us there. And Chair Gutierrez, former Chair Gutierrez, I know how busy you are, and I know you weren't able to be there, but I just wanted you to know that you were absolutely in my thoughts and heart yesterday because of all the work you've done. Go ahead.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, you know, the other thing is I was able to interact with various people who were there, especially media folks who were there. And it's amazing how our safety improvements on 836, people are noticing them. Those little reflectors that are lit up at night have made a tremendous difference, and the community starting to realize what they're there for, especially in the torrential downpours that we've had in the last couple months here in Miami. So, again, kudos to the board for their direction, and thank you very much. I do want to, before I close, Mr. Chair, I missed last board meeting, and I apologize for that. It was the first time I missed in 8.5 years, but I couldn't help it. I was in Dublin, you know, doing my duties with IBTTA. I got to tell you that, first of all, huh? No, but I brought some beer and some scotch and some whiskey. No, it's going to be here. It's coming. But I want to thank the board members that were able to join me there. It was great. I also want to thank Juan Toledo, who was the co-chief meeting organizer. Board members, there was 29 countries represented at the conference. 29 countries that were there. I had the privilege of awarding the President's Award to the Innovative Project of the Year, and it was awarded to Taiwan. And the Taiwanese converted a roadway that traverses the entire country. And they started their project in 2006, and what they called it was distance-based tolling. Distance-based tolling was their version of going to all electronic tolling. When they took over the facilities, there was 2 or 3 tolling points throughout the country. Most of the people rode for free. They needed a funding source for improvements. So they went on a process of closing their system from 2006 to 2013. It's almost the same exact story of the MDX system. So it was interesting that that was the award. The other, another award, the Private Sector Innovative Award, was actually given to one of our vendors here in Miami, Ethan, CPA, who is the vendor who came in to help us fix the problems with ETCC and did the billings. They have been recognized nationally, internationally, for their innovation in billings and financial reporting. So that was good. As far as the conference itself, I think the content was good. It was very relevant. Ms. Weinberg participated as a moderator in, I think, one of the best attended sections because it was about procurement and the debated sections. So I was very proud of representing Miami, representing Florida, representing MDX. On a separate note, on those lines for IBTTA, I had the privilege of meeting with Congressman John Mica last month. Congressman John Mica is a person who is pushing national interoperability. He wants to have the ability to use his SunPass to leave Washington, D.C., and be able to go to his mother-in-law's house for Thanksgiving, and that requires him to go through roadways in Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania to use SunPass. So he's pushed it. In MAP 21, he asked for national interoperability. IBTTA, the industry, said, leave it to us, we can get it accomplished. He's asked for a hearing tomorrow in Washington. I won't be able to attend, but IBTTA is going to be represented by Pat Jones. Florida has submitted testimony because Florida has been one of the leaders in regional interoperability. Many people don't know this, but you can actually take your SunPass to Georgia and get on the Georgia roadways and vice versa. We can go to North Carolina and use our roadways. We're working with Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, and very soon there will be an announcement that you can use SunPass in California and vice versa in the Bay Area region. So with that, I just wanted to close and answer questions. Staff has been very busy putting all these projects on the ground, keeping our commitments, as we said last year when we did the toll adjustment, making sure that we get those projects on time and on budget and deliver them to this community. Mr. Chair, that concludes, and I'll answer the question.
Any questions from the board? Yes, Board Member Cancio.
I would like to make a comment. Yesterday in the groundbreaking, we have 2 county commissioners and the mayor. We have 1 commissioner from the city of Miami. I don't see many people from the state, and also 13 county commission in Miami-Dade County. I think that, that they were not enough. Maybe, the chairperson and also the people from the MPO, they don't show up. Only, I like numbers, that's why, I keep it, okay?
Mr. Cancio, we got a lot more SVPs than actually showed up.
So, and I don't disagree, but we've had, I will say, in a follow-up to Mr. Rodriguez's report, the meetings I've had with the chairman of the county commission, current Mr. Chairman Montesine, and others, has been extremely positive. We've had very positive meetings. We've also met with Commissioner Bovo and others, and I made a commitment to all of you. I would meet with every single member of the county commission as well as with the Dade delegation. It's difficult for us all, week our schedules, but we're making a tremendous effort. I'm seeing a change, and I think what we're following the advice of many members of this board, which is be out there. Let them know the good work we're doing. Don't be ashamed of what we've accomplished. We should be proud of it. And it's starting to have a resonating effect. And that is something that staff has listened very closely to this board about, and I think we're moving forward in that direction. But I can't agree with you more, Board Member Castillo. We need to get even more as aggressive as possibly in getting people to be part of the team that we're trying to build. Agreed. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. Hearing none. Since our MPO representative is not here today, I apologize. Thank you. Sorry. General Counsel, number 4. I apologize.
That's all right. I've been overlooked before. The General Counsel's report, I got 2 matters to report on. The first one is, Mr. Rodriguez made a reference to, is the ETC litigation. As expected, we started the litigation on September 8th. I can't get into the details for legal reasons, as there's some witnesses still haven't testified on our behalf in this room. But I'll give you an overview. The trial is a 1-month trial. However, Judge Thornton couldn't devote a full 1 month at one time, so he gave us 3 weeks, and the last week will be in December. ETCC has put on their case in chief and has rested. We've put on 2 witnesses, and Steve Andrick and Susan Carlson from HNTB. The last week is scheduled for December. However, I did get an email this morning from Mr. Sirota advising that the judge, some cases have settled, that we may finish this in October, but I'm not real confident on that happening because there's some vacations on both sides, lawyers that had pre-scheduled vacations, but we'll see. Overall, I would like to advise the board that you're in very good hands with Joe Sirota, Mike Ernstein, and Eric Hoffman. They are very, very well prepared and extremely professional. I mean, it's a trial where there's a few lawyers on the board, and they know that, you know, when you go to trial, there's no guarantees or anything else. But I will guarantee you one thing: we won't lose this trial for lack of diligence. It's evident how hard they've worked and how well they've prepared our witnesses. I also talked to the chairman before this meeting. He requested a shade meeting on an update. Hopefully, I don't know. If we finish in October, it won't be a shade meeting. But pursuant to Florida law, I have to read this into the record for the record. Pursuant to Florida Statute 286.011, Section 8, Subsection A, an attorney for an agency needs to advise the board that they desire advice regarding pending litigation. Pursuant to the statute, I'm therefore announcing that I require advice regarding the case ETCC versus Miami-Dade Expressway Authority. The meeting will take place during the next board meeting, which is scheduled October 27, 2015. The individuals that can be present are the attorney for the agency, which is myself and Ms. Stillman, a court reporter whose name has not been determined, outside counsel, which would be Joseph Sirota, Michael Arnstein, and Eric Hoffman, the executive director, and all board members present for the meeting.
It's important to note for the board that at that meeting, because Mr. Rodriguez could still be an outstanding witness in the case, he will not be participating in the shade meeting because of the rule has been,
Yeah.
Is that correct, counsel?
Yeah, I mean, I never want to exclude the executive director.
would I,
I think it would be good for the board. They can ask any question they desire, and I'll have at least Joe there, because I think Michael was, his vacation schedule was conflicting with the opening up of those things, but Joe will definitely be here. That's it on ETCC. The MCN litigation, as a reminder, MCN filed an appeal to the ruling that dismissed their complaint. With their appeal, they filed a brief, and I can advise you that there are no new issues in their brief. Basically the same issues that discussed before. At this point in time, we have not received any scheduling orders from the court to file our briefs in response or have set a date for their appeal. We did file a motion for attorney fees. Obviously, I feel that the judge is probably going to hold that in abeyance till the appeal is decided. And that's it.
Any questions? Excuse me. Any questions to counsel? Hearing none. Item 5.
Mr. Chair, because the MPO representative isn't here today, I'll go ahead and make that report. The first thing I'd like to mention about the MPO process is this year, because the legislative session is earlier because of the presidential, the primaries, the whole work program schedule is advanced at Florida DOT. With that said, the approval is still has to happen by May of next year of the full work program by law. So we're going to figure out at staff what we have to do to tie into that schedule, and we may need to bring some items to the board between now and when the session starts or during session for our work program. So that's just a scheduling issue. 2 items that were discussed at the MPO that I want to highlight. The first one is Chrome Avenue. There was a presentation on Chrome Avenue. Florida Department of Transportation is well advanced on the reconstruction of Chrome Avenue, north of Kendall Drive, the typical section. The debate today at the board meeting was the section between 292nd Street and 136th Street. And what typical section? It's a 4-lane typical section with a 40-foot median. It's a rural section. You've got the no-growth, agriculture, environmental advocates on one side, and then you've got the safety and folks, and it was very impactful because I was part of that project 15 years ago, to see the chairs with the T-shirts and the pictures of the children who have died on Chrome Avenue, and the mothers speaking on behalf of their children for safety improvements. So it was very impactful. A lot of kudos to the Department of Transportation for prioritizing that. The second item I wanted to discuss is just an update. The MPO board unanimously adopted the report of the executive director search. The search committee, which was headed up by Vice Chairman, actually by previous Vice Chair Oliver Gilbert, Mayor Oliver Gilbert of Miami Gardens, interviewed 6 candidates and recommended 3 candidates to the chairman for his consideration. The 3 candidates are Eileen Bouclé, Carlos Cejas, and Harold Desdunes. All 3 are people that we know and people that we can work with. So we will anxiously await for that selection to occur. The process is that the chairman will make a recommendation to the full board of the MPO, at which time the board can take it up or ask additional questions. And that concludes my MPO report.
Thank you, Mr. Executive Director. Item 6, please.
That would be
Treasurer report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think let Marie handle most of the details of this. This was presented at the Budget and Finance Committee for those of you who were not there, but I think you'll see from the latest handout that was provided to you that we're starting off in a very good direction, and let me not steal the thunder of Marie and the professional staff that does such a good job of putting all this information together. So let me invite Marie to give us the report, please.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. The report that's before you is for the 2 months of fiscal year 16, which is July and August. Year to date, we've had a very good result from the revenue standpoint. Overall, 35.8. So that's above the forecast by $2.3 million. As it relates to tolls and fees, the majority of that it relates to fees. We're ramping up our collection. So we've done very well on the fee side that helped our revenue. As far as the expenses, nothing really stands out, but for year to date, if you turn to the last page, total operating and G&A expenses, pretty much flat, right on the money to where the budget is, a little bit below 1%. And then on the interest expense, again, virtually matching the budget up. As you all know, we did refinance quite a bit of the debt in last year. So we have one variable outstanding debt that is completely almost a perfect hedge. So you can see our interest expense really is not going to be as volatile as it was in the past. Overall, for the net revenue, we posted $14.2 million. As the treasurer indicated, I think it's a very good start for our fiscal year 16.
All right. Thank you, Marie, again, and staff. As everybody can see, this is we're headed in a good direction, and I think we've reached a place of stability going into this coming year. So, Mr. Chairman, with that ends our report.
Does anyone have any questions for either the treasurer or for the CFO? Thank you for that thorough report. Thank you very much. Item 7, any committee reports? I believe they're parts of the regular agenda. Is that correct, Mr. Director? So, Council, if we can begin with A of the regular agenda right now, please.
Yeah, sure. Mr. Chairman, I just want to read in the record, there is no consent agenda this month. We usually have one, but it's not there, and I made sure with Marty about there not being any items for a consent agenda, just in case anybody's thinking. So we'll move on to the regular agenda. Item A, MDX procurement contract number RFQ 12-02, MDX work program 10019.050, construction, engineering, and inspection services for system-wide implementation of dynamic message signs, $553,833.08, endorsed by the Operations Committee on September 22nd, 2015. Approval of supplemental agreement number 1.
Does anyone wish to move the item? Seconded by Mr. Pinion. It's open for discussion. Juan, I believe you're going to be presenting on behalf of staff on this, Adam?
That is correct.
Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, board members. This is for the contract with AECOM Technical Services for the construction engineering inspection services for the implementation of system-wide dynamic message signs on the MDX system. Due to multiple factors, the design-build firm has fallen behind schedule on the project. Some of these issues are related to fabrication issues for materials and also contractor resourcing. According to the latest schedules, we're anticipated to complete the project by January 26, so we're anticipating like a 193-day delay, of which the design-build firm will be assessed liquidated damages. We're recommending an increase to the CI contract of $553,000, $553,833.09 to be able to see us through the completion of the project and the closeout. That would increase the limiting amount to $1,961,739.28. By doing this, we will be able to, again, finish out the project and be able to close it out.
Any questions from the board? Mr. Walters?
Juan, what does contractor resourcing mean?
It means for a while, they didn't do a lot of work. We put them on notice about the level of effort that they were putting in there. So a lot of those delays are really due to them. I mean, we've already looked at the fabrication issues and addressed those, but the contractor resourcing issues are primarily the reason they're so far behind on the project. We've been working with them and with their bonding company to make up the work and the schedule. We're already on track. Like I said, we're anticipating that we will get this project completed by the end of January 2016.
Any other questions, Mr. Walters? Mr. Treasurer Pena, I apologize.
Thank you. So Juan, this is the 193-day delay. So you're saying that will be a penalty, really, in essence, for these delay? Can you talk a little bit about that?
All of our
what does that equate to? And then, and then the other question that I have is there anything that was unusual that we could learn from this, or is this just one of those circumstances that the contracting resources also threw me, so I had it written that down, but thank you for answering that.
All of our contracts have liquidated damages incorporated into it. For the size of this project, the liquidated damages are $3,057 per calendar day. So right now, we're anticipating that the contract is going to be 193 days beyond the schedule. That's taking us out to January. We're hoping to work with the contractor to reduce that time, but as it is, we're anticipating $590,000 in liquidated damages assessed, and that's we would use that to kind of offset the increase in the CI budget and the overall work program budget that we have for this project. As far as lessons learned, I think this was an issue where the contractor, the company was going through issues. We were trying to get the project going. They had a lot of turnaround with staff and project managers. And, that's something that the agency shouldn't really be responsible for. The company needs to come through in these type of situations. We tried to work with them as much as we can to the point where we did get the bonding company involved, and they're right now mixed in, making sure that payments are getting out to their subs and so forth. So as the project moves forward, we'll continue to do that. We do have basically all the infrastructure work for the signs are done. Right now, what we're waiting for is the rest of the material to get in so that we can finish off the installation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Concio, did you have some questions? And then Mr. Gonzalez.
That means that they are requesting $553,000 more to finish this project.
Is that correct, Mr. Toledo?
That is for the CEI portion of the work, not for the design-build contractor. So right now, for us to be able to continue to have the CEI oversee this work, we need to supplement their contract for the additional time that is required to oversee the work.
Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez, and then Ms. Gutierrez. Okay, if he defers, Mr. Gutierrez?
Point of clarification.
Sure, of course.
Staff needs to address.
Stole my thunder.
The design build contractor.
Correct.
This, you're right.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, okay. Does that answer your question, Mr. Concio? Mr. Gonzalez, then Mr. Meyer. Okay, then Mr. Meyer.
Just to clarify that, we will be coming out of pocket for $553,000 to then be reimbursed upon completion of the project, the anticipated liquidated damages cost of $591,000, correct?
That is correct. At the end of the project, when we close out the project, we will withhold that amount of payment, and then we would reconcile the project budgets accordingly so that that money we didn't pay the contractor went into the right fund for the CI.
And for the $553,000, that's 6 months of services for people?
Yes.
Do we have any type of breakdown of the
We based
people
it
and
on-
what's being paid? Because that's a significant amount for 6 months of work for
We base it-
individuals.
We base it on the supervisory staff, the inspectors that are going to be needed to oversee the remainder of the implementation. So it's the senior engineer, the project administrator, the inspectors for the testing of the DMS signs during the burn-in period. So the 6 months requires different levels of staff to oversee the different implementation processes to get the DMS signs to work.
Ms. Weinberg, and then Mr. Vasquez after that. None? Okay, Ms. Weinberg.
I share your concerns, AJ, and thank you, Maritza, actually, for clarifying that, because that is not how I understood or have experienced liquidated damages to work. So just, I guess, so I'm clear and the public is clear, the CEI needs more money, of course, because their subcontractor is late.
Correct.
Their late.
Correct.
That's what this boils down to. And then to maybe help with answering your question, AJ, and I have the same one you do, is the 553 for 6 months comparable to their original contract for the amount of work and the amount of money we paid them back in 2012?
It's comparable to the amount of time that we've been spending on the project through the life. So for the 6 months is comparable to what we've been paying for the 2 or 3 years that we've been under contract.
Okay. And I assume we're comfortable with that? You're recommending,
We
you're
sat
presenting
down and
this.
negotiated these numbers with the
Good.
contractor. We are comfortable with this.
Thank you, yeah.
Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, discussion is closed. Item's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Next item on the regular agenda, Council.
Item B, MDX procurement contract, ITB 15-02, customer service center personnel, $3,800,000, endorsed by the Operations Committee on September 22nd, 2015. Approval of contract award.
I believe, Helen, you will be presenting for the staff?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Please go
If I
ahead.
could amend the motion for approval, it's to award the contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, and also to enter into a contract with such bidder, which is Fanio Inc. This item was endorsed by the Operations Committee, is the award of the contract to Fanio to provide personnel for the MDX Customer Service Center. This is the 5-year contract with the option to extend for an additional 2. And for the first 5 years, it's an estimated contract amount of $3.8 million.
Do we need, actually, that's a very good question. Council, do we need to amend the item because of the request that Ms. Cordero made, or can we just need to do a friendly amendment, correct?
We're fine.
We're fine, okay. With the amendment?
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone wish to move the item with the friendly amendment? So moved by Ms. Gutierrez, seconded by Ms. Weinberg. Item is now open for discussion. Does anyone have any questions from the board at this time? Hearing no questions, discussion is closed. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, item passes unanimously. Next item, please, Council.
Item C, MDX work program, number A3611, State Road 836, I-95 interchange improvements, endorsed by the Operations Committee on September 22nd, 2015. Approval of eminent domain parcels resolution 15-18 through 15-27.
Anyone wish to move the item? Moved by Ms. Weinberg, seconded by Mr. Gonzalez. Item has been moved and seconded. Now it's open for discussion. I believe it will be presented today by Mr. Toledo. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Please.
I'm sorry, but I just put my notes out of order. Board members, on December of 2014, the board adopted Resolution 14-14, which declared the 83611 project, which is the 836 and 995 interchange improvements that would serve a public purpose by providing additional mobility and transportation connectivity. In accordance with that resolution, we're bringing forth these resolutions, these partial resolutions, to begin the acquisition process through negotiated conveyance or eminent domain. We would begin with trying to negotiate with the owners. If we can't do that in a timely fashion, then we would enter into the eminent domain process.
Anyone on the board have any questions? Board Member Constable, please.
I would like to make a comment.
Of course.
The other day, I learned something through the executive director, that they say the eminent domain and a trial for murder only going to have 12 euros. The other, they have less.
I learned that too.
Okay.
And it's only first-degree murder, not even second degree. Only first degree requires 12. So, any other comments or questions? Hearing none, comments are closed. We've had a moving party and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Next item.
Mr. Chairman, on that item of 836 I-395, I believe the request was made to the state, to the Florida DOT for a presentation on the project, and Secretary Pago is going to be coordinating that, and I know that Juan Toledo and his staff are coordinating for a presentation at Operations Committee.
Very good. Thank you. Next item, Council.
Item D, MDX Work Program A7410, State Road A74 Ramp Connector to Southwest 128th Street, endorsed by the Operations Committee on September 22nd, 2015. Approval of eminent domain parcel resolution 15-28.
Who will be, Juan Toledo. It's a Juan Toledo afternoon. Go ahead, Juan.
Board members, on December 2014, the board adopted Resolution 14-06, which declared the 87410 project, which is the 874 ramp connector to the west, as a project that would serve a public purpose. In accordance with those resolutions, this is a parcel resolution to begin the acquisition process for parcel 800 through negotiated conveyance or eminent domain. Same as the previous item, we would begin with the negotiation process, and if that were to fail and we couldn't do it in a timely fashion, we would go to eminent domain.
Does anyone wish to move the item? Board Member Cancio, seconded by Board Member Vasquez. Item is now open for discussion. Does anyone have any questions on this matter? Hearing no questions, discussion is closed. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Council, next item.
Item E, MDX Work Program Number 87410, State Road 874 Ramp Connector to Southwest 128th Street, endorsed by the Operations Committee on September 22nd, 2015. Approval of purchase of parcel 114, Resolution 15-29.
Mr. Toledo, is this part of your presentation, sir?
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead.
Board members, the MDX property acquisitions policy requires that a board resolution for the acquisition of parcels with a purchase price of $500,000 or greater be brought to the board for approval. In this case, parcel 114 was negotiated for $593,000. The initial offer on this parcel was $539,100. In negotiating with the owner, he came back with a 10% increase counter offer, which is within our appraisal range. Just for a note, the appraisal value for this parcel came in at $539,100, which is the offer that we made. The appraisal range ranged anywhere between $13.63 a square foot to $20 a square foot. Our offer was in the mid-range of that at $16 a square foot. His counter offer basically puts us at $17.59, which is still in the mid-range of the appraisal, so we're still within the appraisal range values that we found, and those are based on market value and comparables for the area. We're endorsing this, we're recommending this item for approval, as by doing so, we would save $116,000 in certain eminent domain fees if we were to move forward in that process.
Anyone wish to move the item? Moved by Board Member Vasquez, seconded by Board Member Cancio. Item is now open for discussion. Does anyone have any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, discussion is closed. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ms. Gutierrez is opposed to the item. May it be noted for the record, please. Next item, please, Council.
Item F, approval to fees state loans endorsed by the Budget and Finance Committee on September 24, 2015.
And who will be presenting on this item? Ms. Schaefer, please.
This item was presented to the Budget and Finance Committee back in June last fiscal year. This item was taken to Budget and Finance in September. This is an ongoing effort to manage our debt based upon our debt management plan. The agreement is attached to the fees to the State Infrastructure Bank loans and 4 toll facility loans with the state of Florida. And once we pay these loans off, we have no further obligation with the state of Florida.
Anyone wish to move the item? Moved by Mr. Gonzalez, seconded by Ms. Gutierrez. Item is now open for discussion. Does anyone have any questions? Hearing no questions from the board, this discussion is closed. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing no, item passes unanimously. I agree. I think staff should be congratulated for doing this, and I concur with Board Members Gutierrez's congratulations. Next item.
Item G, MDX procurement contract number RFP 15-05, Investment Advisory Services, endorsed by the Budget and Finance Committee on September 24, 2015. Approval of Technical Evaluations Committee recommendation to select the number 1 ranked proposer.
And this will be presented, I believe, by Helen?
Yes, sir. This is the approval to select the number 1 ranked proposer for Southwest Asset Management to provide investment advisory services. This item was endorsed by the Budget and Finance Committee. We received 3 proposals from Chandler Asset Management, First Southwest Asset Management, and Sawgrass Asset Management. After the evaluation of their technical and qualifications, as well as the price submittal, the ranking was First Southwest number 1, Sawgrass Asset Management number 2, and Chandler Asset Management number 3. We would enter into a contract with the number 1 proposer and with the prices that they proposed. This would be a 5-year contract with the option to renew for an additional 2 years.
Anyone wish to move the item? Moved by Mr. Treasurer Rodriguez-Pena, seconded by Board Member Meyer. Now it's open for discussion. Does anyone have any questions? No questions. Discussion is closed. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Next item, please. Item passed unanimously. Next item, please, Council.
Item H, this is a great way to end, and I think it's indicative of this board and this our staff. And this was a product of the Think Big Committee that Chairman Gutierrez founded, and I thought this was a wonderful idea, and I'm very proud of it. It's approval of fiscal year 2015 cashback toll dividends endorsed by the Budget and Finance Committee on September 24, 2015.
And Marie, I believe you'll be presenting for staff.
Yes, Mr. Chair. As the General Counsel indicated, this item was taken out of the Think Big Committee, one of the items of the initiative, our former chair, Mrs. Gutierrez. We moved forward on developing the criteria to make a recommendation for fiscal year 15. As you all recall, fiscal year 15 was not intended to have a customer awards, a cash back, but based upon last year, the recommendation from the governing board was to essentially retro the program to January 2015 to June of 2015. So initially, we had an open enrollment period from January of 2015 to April 30th. We opened the program back up July 7th up until August of 2015. We had about 83,000 transponders registered, of which about 46%, almost 39,000 transponders qualified for the program. We reviewed the information, and out of the remaining that didn't qualify, we presented this at the Budget and Finance Committee, 13,000 paid no tolls to MDX. I'm sure they paid tolls somewhere, but they didn't pay tolls to MDX. The remaining amount paid tolls anywhere from $10 to $40. But again, that was for a 6-month period. The statistics show, based upon the analysis, the majority of the people paid tolls somewhere around 1.5 gantries, which was pretty consistent to what our traffic and revenue consultants had stated in previous meetings. So based upon the analysis, we are making a recommendation based upon the financial performance of the organization, based upon the liquidity of the position. We did have an opportunity to show preliminary financial statements at the Budget and Finance Committee. So the recommendation is that we declare a cashback dividends to the commuters that register for $2.2 million roughly at a 30% back. So if a commuter paid whatever they paid, $100, we're asking for a 30% dividend. They would get $30. If they paid $200 for the 6-month period, they get $60. So that is the recommendation that's before you.
Before I bring the item up for discussion, do you have any other comments, Mr. Rodriguez?
No, the only thing I would say is that I congratulate the board for this initiative. I think the statistics speak for themselves. We are going to use that in our public communications program, as we discussed it the other day at Intergovernmental and PCC. I think it's very telling that when we did this program on 836, and we had our traffic and revenue consultants here, and we located those gantries where they're located, we knew the trips were going to be short, and those are reflective of where people go to work. The advent of the Doral area as a employment area has basically confirmed what our traffic and revenue numbers were. And these statistics, seeing 82 or 83,000 people sign up and seeing the statistics is a very powerful tool to use as we go out to the community and explain, listen, people pay tolls, but not always to MDX. And I think it's indicative in the Treasurer's report. If you look at the first 2 months of the fiscal year, if you actually look at the numbers from the time we went live on 836 and 112 back in November 14th of 2014, we have exceeded our traffic projections. Therefore, the people who are driving our facilities are finding value in driving our facilities and are understanding that there's a benefit to driving our facilities. And as 836, 826 interchange opens and you start seeing traffic being placed in the right direction, you're going to see that flow even better. And as 836-28 gets improved, you're going to see the flow even better. So that's good for our communities. That notion that people avoid the highway and cut through, I think people will get on the highway if they can go from point A to point B quicker, safer, and in a reliable manner. So thank you, Mr. Chair, but I think this is absolutely great that we're doing this.
That's fine. Well, so we can have discussion first. Does anyone wish to move the item? Moved. Ms. Gutierrez, you want it? You're seconded by Ms. Gutierrez. It was her idea. So it was moved by former Chair Gutierrez and seconded by Treasurer Pena. It's now open to discussion. We can start with Ms. Gutierrez.
Thank you very much for bringing this forward and declaring the dividend program, and people are going to be able to experience a cashback in December. But I need a point of clarification, because at Budget and Finance, there was also the portion, the written policy, that was also provided, of which I also understand that not all the points were discussed on the dais, because for some reason it kept moving forward, because your presentation was an amazing presentation, and it took the time before the next meeting was up. So the question is, as we're voting on this today, that policy is not what we're voting on, right?
That is correct.
We're voting on the cash component that is being declared that it's moving forward. The policy is, the written portion of the policy is moving to policy and planning.
That is correct.
Correct. I wanted that point of clarification.
Absolutely.
I've already said to staff how there are 5 points that are missing and need to be added.
And we are moving it towards, it is going to be at the next policy meeting. The only thing we're declaring is a cashback today, but the policy has not been established yet. That is 100% correct.
Very good, very good.
It's already on the agenda for the policy and planning meeting. for the next policy and planning meeting, because we couldn't have it in September because,
You have to understand me. I like to hear it, I like to see
That's
it in
fine.
writing, and I like to hear it again. It's on the recording. You know, it's just,
Any other questions,
No,
Ms.
that's
Gutierrez? Any other questions on this side? Any other questions on this? Hearing no other questions, I think it's very important, one of the things that Executive Director Rodriguez said, I do have a question, Ms. Marie. Am I correct then that of the people that are qualifying, almost 55% of those individuals that qualify spend less than anywhere between $5 to $25, between $8 to $25 a month on our tolls?
Correct. That's correct. You
Okay.
remember.
Total, on our tolls, correct?
Yes.
And then another significant percentage spend actually even less than $8 a month on our tolls. Is that correct?
Correct.
I think those are very important, powerful numbers, because the big, and Chair Gutierrez could testify to this as well, we have been hearing endless arguments about how people are spending tens of thousands of dollars. We have an 82,000-person poll. And if you listen to CNN and Fox News every day when they describe the Wall Street Journal poll of 1,000 people to describe who's leading what presidential election, our empirical data shows dramatically that what we're hearing about what is going on with the tolls and what is actually going on are two completely different issues. And even though that is true, we intend, as a board, to help those that even what are maybe low amounts, but maybe significant to those who are spending it, because we still care as much as possible for our clients. And that term is also from previous boards as well. It's not customers, it's our clients that we represent here. And I think those numbers that have been established by cold hard fact of those who applied show that there's a lot of disinformation about MDX that this information will be very beneficial for. So I congratulate the fact that in our first year, 82,000. I do have one question for staff. When can people start registering for next year?
We'll open registration in January again for the next fiscal year.
That's fine. So I'd like to begin.
This is actually the two. This will, and for clarification, the registration that people signed up for was actually for fiscal year 16, which is what we're currently in. We retroactively are awarding this 6-month period of fiscal year 15. So when next year people sign up, they're actually signing up for fiscal year 17. We have to do it in advance because it becomes an expense item that we have to report on our financials. That's why we have an opt-in process.
Mr. Director.
I'm sorry, to clarify for the record, Chairman, enrollment will be, the previous enrollment that just happened was for 15 and 16.
Yes.
The next, as the Executive Director reported, but the enrollment begins in July, which is the next fiscal year, not in January.
What I would like perhaps for policy to consider then is for people to perhaps be able to register for next year before July of next year. If I think the board would feel very comfortable with that. I don't know if anyone agrees with that as well.
perhaps since there is a policy there on the enrollment, we need to change that.
That's one of the things I think we'd like to bring up.
17, it can start January.
Correct.
Because what's going to happen is if you start later in the year, you're not going to increase
Exactly.
the amount that you have.
Which is exactly what I'm concerned about as well. So if I'd like staff to come up with to bring to policy some information so that people can begin enrolling in January of 2016 for that period, so that people are anticipating that if they can enroll during this next, for lack of a better word, 10 months, it doesn't make sense. So let's see if we can get something to work out on that place. Okay?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
On that comment, I think, I'd like to examine that a little further. I understand the intent, and I think it's well intended. I think we just need to look at the fiscal impact of where we started, where it's going to impact, and where it ties up in the impact to our finances. Again, I think we have a very capable staff, but I just want to make sure that I think it's a very well-intended idea. We just need to look at the numbers and the implication on that.
And I agree with you, Treasurer. I'm not saying it has to be done. I'm just saying it should be something that should be added as part of the discussion for policy, because I will tell you that if people think they have to wait 10 months to register, they're going to forget. And that's going to, the idea of this is not just to help others, but to continue to show our concern. So I think that's something that has to be strongly looked at. So, and I'm pretty confident that this board will look favorable to my suggestion, come down that line. Any other items? It's been seconded and moved. Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, discussion is closed. All in favor of declaring a cashback dividend program, for the first item created by our Blue Ribbon Committee, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the item passes unanimously. Congratulations to staff and for this fantastic program. Informational items, does any of the items, Mr. Director, need to be discussed, or are they just in the packets?
I think there's the communications reports in the packet. I think there was questions on that. If there isn't, Mario's ready to respond.
Mr. Vasquez, any questions?
I have a general question relating to the MIC. Is there any type of update for the board on what's going on with the MIC?
Actually, and the reason I didn't put it in the report is because we've been anticipating an update, and we haven't gotten that update. We met with the director of the airport and with county staff, and they didn't promise MDX, because MDX doesn't own the MIC right now. The state of Florida does. They promised the state of Florida a letter that should have gotten to them last Monday. We're still waiting. I know the chairman, and I met with Commissioner Bovo. Right after that meeting, Secretary Pago and I met with Commissioner Bovo, and we explained the whole situation, and Commissioner Bovo said that he was going to take it under consideration and possibly bring it up at his committee, Transportation Committee, for full discussion. We await that agenda, and then I can give you a full update on where we're at. As far as MDX goes, the transaction between MDX and the state, it's done. It's just a matter of when the county will agree to that transfer.
So it's your recommendation that we continue having a committee that, because as far as operational, responsibility, jurisdiction, I'm just wondering, should we have a committee that?
Board Member Vasquez, part of the agreement between MDX and the state was that not only did we have a committee, but that the Secretary of Transportation serve as a chair of that committee. Because the agreement between the state and MDX is still vigilant, it's just pending county approval, I would leave everything in place until such time that the county says, we don't agree with this, we want to take it, and then we walk out, and then we will have to reverse what we've done or revise what we've done. But for the time being, I would leave everything as is for now.
Any other questions? Somebody over here? Or a follow-up?
Following up on
Go ahead.
Vasquez, I think the concern is putting closure to this up-in-the-air situation. I think that's what we're all looking forward to. In your meeting, did you all get to present opportunities that we're willing to do?
Very clearly.
Very clearly.
Very clearly. That's why my comment as far as, to Mr. Vasquez, as far as not necessarily eliminating, but maybe revising it, might come to the picture, because the whole notion of the intermodal center and what we created as an enterprise, which was an opportunity to separate our toll revenues from potential different revenues, can still hold true for other opportunities. So therefore, we'll see what they do with the MIC, but we're putting together a strategic plan that talks about a lot of hubs with a lot of opportunities that this enterprise can oversee. So let's just wait on the MIC.
In a follow-up to Mr. Vasquez, can we get from staff some type of an update, if you say, for the next meeting, and see where we're at on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll put one in writing and I'll present it to the board. Hopefully, we'll have something from the county that I can present.
That way, we'll be able to get a more follow-up on where we're at. Yes, Mr. Vasquez, go ahead.
Unrelated question. As a resident of Miami Lakes, elected officials of Miami Lakes and residents of Miami Lakes call me asking about status of the ramps and the exchange that's being planned for 67th Avenue.
Our recommendation to the town of Miami Lakes was to approach the MPO and place it on the MPO, and at that time, then we can look at it as part of a project. I'm not sure what the status of them introducing it to the MPO is right now.
That was a project that was identified during the strategic planning meetings. Since we're still finalizing the strategic plan process, Once that's complete, then we'll start reaching out so we can go through the whole MPO process and get it into the LRTP as a long-range project, because we would have to do that. We would have to get that project identified in the MPO's long-range plan before we can take it up. But since we're still in the process of the strategic plan, we're waiting to complete that before we can go to the next step.
It is identified on the long-range transportation plan. Tell me what that means in timeframes.
In timeframes means that once it's identified as a project, we can choose to accelerate we can accelerate that project anytime once we've identified the funds for it. So right now, what's holding us back to continue the process and development further, is, finalizing the strategic plan, which Director Javier gave us an update on that. Excuse me? No, I was looking at. You're pointing at Mario. Actually, I was pointing around Mario. I'm sorry. I was pointing at Albert because HNTV is leading that effort. I apologize. But yeah, once we finalize the strategic plan and we get that out of the way, then we'll start the next step. Like I said, as soon as we get that project into the MPO's long-range transportation plan, we can go ahead and advance any portion of the project that we.
And who does that? We do? The town does that, or?
What we advise the town is that because the town identifies it as a project that's needed for them, if they could send the MPO a letter saying we've identified a project that we support, that we want to include there, it makes our process that much easier as we go through it. If we don't have the town's support, it makes it very difficult.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Meyer.
Yes. On the strategic plan, I want to say it was back maybe in April, we had Louis Amil up here sharing with us concepts and where we were going, and if I recall correctly, he mentioned a July or August timeframe to come back to the board to give an updated presentation. I've yet to hear anything as it relates to that strategic plan. What's the status?
Again, we. We engaged, and Juan and staff can correct me on the date, on the timeframes. The intent was to bring it back in September for an update. Before we brought it to the board for an update, we wanted to engage our traffic and revenue and our economic development consultants to look at the viability, because it's not just a traditional toll project or a traditional project that MDX gets in, but there's a variety of funding mechanisms that have been identified by the board. Those exercises are happening right now, and Juan, are we ready to bring it back? Because I know that we've mentioned that the city of Miami Beach, when we met with them, are anxiously waiting for the hub concept on the Julia Tuttle, at the end of Julia Tuttle. So I don't know if October is the right time frame.
We're finalizing that process. I can get you a better detailed schedule at the next operations committee, or I can have I can provide that through the board secretary to all the board members.
Suffice it to say before the end of the year?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's the whole point, because we need to start feeding the work program with those types of projects.
Correct. And I had a follow-up to that. As far as a presentation by the underline, has there been any follow-up with that as far as having them present to us at any point in time?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. But we will get them to present to the operations committee as
Thank you.
As we've committed.
Board Member Cancio.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask something to our director.
Of course.
If the MIC don't go to MDX and go to the county, they're going to give us the $90 million that we put it there.
I think, Mr. Consi, let me put this right on the record. I don't think the issue of the $90 million we gave for the MIC would come back, because the elements of the MIC that MDX participated in were actually getting utility, which is a lot of the connections of highways between 836 and the Airport Boulevard. I think the bigger question is, if the county takes over the MIC, and that means they have the wherewithal to take over the MIC, maybe what we need to do is get our money back for Central Boulevard.
The $39 million.
I think that's a bigger issue. That's the bigger conversation.
But, we have to pursue it.
Absolutely.
And the other thing, I would like, when you talk about, the Chrome Avenue, came to my memory, was my last day that I was a county commissioner. And I remember that day, that some of the county commissioners in that area, they don't want the FDOT study. a road that it was the most dangerous road in Miami-Dade County and Florida. We have a big fight. We won 9-2, but that was in 2002. And I
have scars on my back still of that project. Okay. I went through that process as the FDOT person in charge of amending the CDMP for Chrome Avenue to afford Chrome Avenue the ability to do what it's doing right now, to be widened.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, first, Mr. Pena, before I get to my comments, Mr. Pena, an announcement, please.
Just want to make an announcement, board members, that we will have our external auditors here on the property doing on-site, doing their annual audit. Typically, they will reach out to 2 to 3 board members, so discuss events of the previous year. You will also be getting forms that are related to disclosure, so please make sure that you sign those forms and get it back to Marie and staff. And at the end of at the conclusion of their audit, we'll be hearing from them at their findings at the November board budget and finance meeting. So I just want to make an announcement that the external auditors will be on premises and they'll begin that process. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. My comments tonight will be very brief, but very positive. We've had first, I'd like to congratulate the board today for passing the cashback dividend. I think that's an important step for us in showing, again, how concerned we are for our clients. And I think the fact that it shows that we are a board of our word. We said we were going to do it, and we're moving forward. And I want to congratulate staff for their hard work. I want to congratulate Marie, to the public relations for all of those. I think 82,000 people registering their SunPasses is a great start. I'm looking forward to that number growing in the future so that people can understand. But of equal importance is the fact that more than half of the people that registered spend less than $25 a month. We have heard over and over again about how we are bleeding our clients dry, and the numbers do not support the lines that have been said about us. This week we had a tremendous groundbreaking. I want to thank board members Weinberg, Walters, Cancio, Vice Chair Fano, and Cliff for being there. It was very important for them. I'd also like to thank our elected officials, Mayor Carlos Jimenez, County Commissioners Audrey Edmondson and Rebecca Sosa, and City of Miami Commissioner Willie Dort for being there. They are members of the future teams that we're going to go forward. It was a Monday morning, and let me tell you folks, it was really hot out there. And yet everyone was there showing tremendous support. Staff did an outstanding job except for the electronics. I think I'd like to get a little better microphone system next time, please. But other than that, I thought it was an excellent project. And again, I want to commend former board members who are not here and members who are here, such as Chair Gutierrez, former Chair Foray, and others who were part of the team that created this port project, that we continue to do what is in the long-term benefit of our community. What's important to note is we are far thinking here. Not only are we doing these projects, but we're thinking ahead. We are enforcing the shoulders so that we can be a partner in public transportation, so that electronic buses can be there and we don't have to redo and do more construction. We are looking to the future and just not for today. For that, I want to thank staff. I will continue, as your chair, to continue to get the word out there about how strong this board is and how an honor it is to represent it and get our message out there. And on that, I look for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Ms. Gutierrez, seconded by absolutely everybody. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.